Okay, this is 2.4, dividing fractions. When dividing fractions, you will use the reciprocal of the second fraction. Reciprocal, R-E-C-I-P-R-O-C-A-L, reciprocal of the second fraction and multiply. Well, what does that mean? That means you're going to keep the first number. You're going to flip the sign from divide to multiply. And you're going to change. So we're going to keep flip and then change. And we're going to change the second fraction. This is the reciprocal part that we just mentioned. Reciprocal is doing the reverse. So when we flip the fraction, so when you change the second fraction to its reciprocal. And let's talk what that means. So that means, like, if I have A over B, it's then going to be B over A. Let's try it. Writing reciprocals. We have 3/5, 3 over 5. So we're going to flip them. We're going to change them to the reciprocal, and this would be 5 over 3. On example 2, we have 9/5. We do the reciprocal, we get 5 over 9. In example 3, it's a whole number. A whole number is really always over 1. So the answer to this for the reciprocal would be the opposite. When you flip it, would be 1 over 2. And finally, example 4, 7/2 or 7 over 2, we would say is 2/7 is the reciprocal. Now we know what reciprocals are, let's practice dividing fraction by a fraction. If we know we're dividing a fraction by a fraction, we're going to follow the rules that we just mentioned. We're going to KFC, keep the first fraction. So we're going to keep the first one, 1/6. We're going to flip the sign to multiply. And we're going to change 2/3 to 3 over 2. And then after that, you know how to do this because we practiced it in 2.3. You're going to multiply straight across. You can also, and I'll write and, cross cancel. This is when you would do your cross canceling. So let's multiply straight across. When we multiply straight across, we get 1 times 3 is 3, and 6 times 2 is 12. We can simplify by dividing by 3 on the top and bottom, and we get 1/4. You could have also cross-canceled. You had 1/6 times 3 over 2. So you could have cross-canceled. 3 goes into 6, and 3 goes into 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4. Let's try example 6. You're going to keep the first fraction 2/5. You're going to flip the sign to multiply. And you're going to change 3/10 into 10/3. We're going to cross cancel because 5 goes into 10. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 times 3 is 3, and 4/3 is our answer. The next portion, we're going to divide a fraction by a whole number. We talked about whole numbers and how they're already a fraction as well. So we're going to keep the first one, which is 4/5. We're going to flip the sign to multiply, and we're going to change the 2, which you have to remember 2 is 2 over 1. Now I could change that 2 over 1 into its reciprocal, which is 1 over 2. Remember, it has to go from here to here, and then you do the reciprocal. Another way you could have written this problem before you keep going to solve it is 4/5 divided by 2 over 1, and then done, keep, flip, change. Now that we've gotten our keep, flip, change, we have 4/5 times 1/2. We're going to divide, and we're going to cross cancel the 2 and the 4 because 2 goes into 4. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. Multiply straight across. 2 times 1 is 2, and 5 times 1 is 5. And 2/5 is our answer. Watching that again without cross-canceling, keep the first fraction, change it to multiply, multiply by the reciprocal of the second number, multiply straight across, I get 4/10, divide by 2 on the top and bottom to simplify, and I get 2/5. Okay, so it's either one. You don't have to do both. On example 8, I'm going to convert this first to 27 over 1 divided by 3 over 2. Then I'm going to do my keep, flip, change. So I have 27 over 1 is the one I'm going to keep. Multiply is my flip, and 2/3 is the reciprocal. I'm going to cross cancel. 3 goes into 27 9 times, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 times 2 is 18. 1 times 1 is 1. 18 over 1 is the same as 18. Now we're going to practice using order of operations with the fractions. So when we have the quotient of 8/3 and 1/6 is increased by 5, what is the number results? So we have a story problem on top of it, and let's work through it. Quotient of, so whenever you see the word quotient, it goes where the and is, so that's where it's going to be divide. And then the quotient of 8/3 and 1/6, so it's 8/3 divided by 1/6. And then increase by 5 means increases add by 5. So plus 5. So we're going to write plus 5 in our story. Let's practice. So we need to keep the first number, 8/3. We're going to flip the sign to multiply, and we're going to change 1/6 to its reciprocal, 6 over 1. We're going to do this part first because we always do multiply and divide from left to right before we add and subtract. So 3 goes into 6 2 times, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. 8 times 2 is 16. We're going to put that down here. And 1 times 1 is 1. We know 16 over 1 is the same as 16. We're going to bring that plus 5 down, and 16 plus 5 is going to give me 21. Let's try something harder. Let's try fractions with exponents. So an exponent means that we're going to take that fraction and we're going to multiply it by itself. So 4/3 times 4/3. And we do our exponents in parentheses. We don't have a set of parentheses, so we're going to do our exponents first. Remember, parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, and then I'm going to put addition and subtraction, but I'm going to do it backwards so you remember it's whatever's left to right. So we have 4/3 times 4/3. We need to do this first. And we have this one over here, and that one's going to be 5 over 2 times 5 over 2, because we do it twice because there's a 2 there. So again, 32 divided by 4/3 squared plus 75 divided by 5/2 squared. And we're going to do the exponents first. So we have 32, we're going to keep that there, and divide it by. What is 4 times 4? We get 16, and 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 75 divided by, and now we have 5 times 5 is 25, and 2 times 2 is 4. So we're going to do each set of the division because those are next, and we start at the left. So we're going to start with this one and do our keep, 32 over 1. We're going to flip our sign to multiply, and we're going to change 16 over 9 to 9 over 16. Now, could I have simplified this? Sure could, but I also know that 16 goes into 32 and 16 goes into 32 2 times. If you didn't know that, you might want to simplify because you would see that it's a 4 and then 4 goes into 32 8 times, whichever one works for you. So 16 divided by 16 is 1, and 32 divided by 16 is 2. And I can't do anything with the 9 and 1. So I'm going to multiply. 2 times 9 is 18, and 1 times 1 is 1. And we know this is just 18. So this plus sign. Now let's do the other side. We have 75, we're going to keep that, so 75 over 1. We're going to flip the sign to multiply, and we're going to do 25 fourths to the reciprocal. We're going to change it to 4 over 25. Now hopefully you were thinking, well, I know in 75 cents there are 3 quarters. A quarter is 25 cents, and so there are 3 quarters in 75 cents because 25 times 3 is 75. 25 divided by 25 is 1. Now we have 3 times 4 is 12, and 1 times 1 is 1. And 12 over 1 is the same as 12. Add them together, and we get 30. Let's do the real life application. So in the real life application, a piece of wood is 3 feet long. Okay, and let's draw our wood. We got 3 feet of wood. I want how many 3/4 foot pieces? So each piece is going to be 3/4 feet long because I'm going to cut it out of that piece. So how many of those can I make? If I'm going to cut something, that's division. So we have a 3-foot board divided by 3/4 pieces. We're going to keep the first number, 3 over 1. We're going to flip our sign to multiply, and we're going to change 3/4 to its reciprocal, 4/3. I can cross cancel because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 1 is 1. So that means I can cut 4 pieces. A 4-H club is making blankets to help their lambs clean at the county fair. If each blanket requires 3/4 yards of material, how many blankets can they make from 9 yards of material? So again, they have 9 yards of material, and they can cut 3/4 out. How many are they going to use? So again, we have 9 yards divided by 3/4 yards. We're going to keep the first one, 9 over 1. We're going to flip the sign to multiply, and we're going to change it to 4 over 3 for our reciprocal. Cross cancel. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1. That means I can make 12 blankets. And that is 2.4 dividing fractions.